altogether a new formulation of government in Egypt, a rejection of the Islamist government. We're on it. We will talk about it not only at the top of next hour, but also with our first guest, Bruce Thornton. He is a professor of classics and humanities at Fresno State University. He is also a national fellow at the Hoover Institution. He has lectured at some of the most prestigious universities as well as institutions and sparred with Bill Maher, intellectually speaking. And The Wages of Appeasement, the book I always tell you all about because it's a must-read, Ancient Athens, Munich, and Obama's America. After you read it, you say, oh, yeah, it really lays out where we are and where we're headed. And Bruce, I'm going to welcome you with a clip from Chris Matthews. And this is amazing because Chris Matthews actually asks a tough question and holds people to account. He's speaking to Michael Steele, former GOP chair, and Jonathan Alter, a Democratic strategist. And here is Chris Matthews talking about illegal immigration. And he questions, he says, hey, look, is one party for it and one party against it? Roll it.
I think Republicans don't like illegal immigration. They don't like it. They don't like it. And they want to hear a bill that's going to work.
And they don't like it. And what they remember is what was promised in 1986 that didn't happen under Reagan.
It didn't work. They were promised before.
And they were promised before. And they don't want to go to that road again, which is why they're saying
Charlie Brown
we want the lock on the fence to be secured before we give you anything else.
Okay. How long are they going to keep 30,000 guys on the border down there? How many years are we going to do that?
As long as Republicans have anything to say about what goes on in Washington.
You don't want them to do it. So why should they trust you? Democrats don't really believe in border enforcement, do they?
Look,
do they?
I don't know about other Democrats.
Do Democrats care about border enforcement?
The leadership understands.
Do they believe in border enforcement?
A lot less than Republicans.
Less than Republicans, but enough so they're willing to put up $30 billion.
Why do they believe in illegal immigration, Democrats?
Because right now it's not even that big of a problem.
Why do they believe in it?
Well, I'm not going to defend.
Yes, you are. You're basically admitting. Do you think Republicans are?
Chris,
do you think Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party is concerned about illegal immigration?
Mildly.
Okay. You are covering.
You are covering. And here's the question, Professor. I sit back and we're celebrating our nation's birthday tomorrow, and we have one party that does not believe in the rule of law. And that was admitted by, in essence, a strategist for that party. Where are we in America today, Professor?
Well, it's not just one party. I mean, you have
a
lot of people on the other side who are agitating for the so-called immigration reform. Hello?
And so, yes, and what?
I'm sorry.
No problem at all. But what does that tell us? When both parties, a portion of the R's, obviously, the D's, are not supporting the rule of law, what does that mean?
Well,
what does that tell us?
It means what, unfortunately, is consistent historically, I don't think unique, is that people will put their economic interests or their political interests ahead of, ideas like the rule of law, or you shouldn't reward law breaking, or, you shouldn't sacrifice the national interest to your political interest. So unfortunately, it's just human nature, and it's one of the great criticisms of democracy, going back to Plato and Aristotle, is that people will tend to do that. Fortunately, we have a system put in place that gives authority or requires the consent of the House of Representatives, and I don't think they're going to sign off on this comprehensive immigration reform. And if they don't, which I don't think they will, then the system has worked the way James Madison and everybody said it would. The balanced powers, one will check the excesses of the other.
And the fact is, what I hear being argued is not substance when it comes to the arguing and advocating for what was passed out of the Senate. It is politics. You're going to offend a particular group.
Oh, there's so many ways this is wrong, Crane. I mean, listen to the rhetoric. Mm-hmm. First, they totally confuse legal and illegal immigration. Right? So we get all the Emma Lazarus, give us you're tired and you're poor, et cetera, and all of these feel-good stories about legal immigrants. But we're talking about illegal immigrants. And what are the costs of illegal immigrants? So we hear all the benefits of legal immigrants, and none of the costs of illegal immigrants, and then pretend that they're going to reap all the benefits of what is actually legal immigration. And to me, that's the biggest duplicity in this whole legislation coming out of the Senate.
Isn't this all based on identity politics? And first define identity politics and what our founders would have thought of it in the sense of the ideals of the Declaration laid out. Go ahead.
Right. The Constitution comes out of classical liberalism, not what we mean by that today, but the notion that all people have inherent rights that define them and qualities such as, rationalism or whatever, and that these are more important ultimately than any distinctions. And that's why the rights are granted to all and not, sorted out among various groups. That was one of the reasons why, since we're also at the time of the Battle of Gettysburg, which may have saved the Union, the great struggle of the Civil War is to say we can't have on our soil, given our system, another one that defines people in terms of those superficial characteristics. Identity politics goes back to, it goes back to German Romantic nationalism of the 18th century, which said that, no, Germans are these special people with this, the folk and its ties to the German soil and its culture and its history, and it's different from being a Frenchman, and there is no universal human being. And, that led into some very unpleasant places in the 20th century, which I'm sure, you can imagine what those are. Mm-hmm. And, it was also the logic of segregation in the Jim Crow South. I mean, the segregationists said, hey, look, black culture, black life, black mores, et cetera, those are all different from whites, and so they should be kept separate. So identity politics of the 60s went back to those, we thought, discredited ideas and says, oh, no, there has to be different treatment of different groups because of their unique culture. So it's a direct contradiction of the liberal democratic foundations of the United States. And what in effect happens, and this is now we get to your point about the immigration debate, mm-hmm. What these really become are instruments of political power, right? So what you have is the assertion of this unique identity that cannot be judged from without, and that is predicated, more importantly, on being the victims of previous historical affronts, and so deserves some sort of special consideration that is not given to other citizens. And by the way, you're seeing this not just play out in the immigration debate; it is playing out as we speak in the Zimmerman trial.
And that is exactly what I want to get to on the flip side of the break, because we will bring the Zimmerman trial into focus, but we'll look at it through the lens of another professor and a comment that he made regarding identity politics. He has very different hair than you, and certainly a persona that is beyond. I can't characterize it in the 30 seconds that we have left. I will just say this: Cornel West weighs in on identity politics, and the Supreme Court says, "Hey, look, we've got to stop recognizing race, and it's called racist." Okay. Bruce Thornton, our guest. What are we celebrating? America 2013, where we are. And we'll also get into Egypt. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, proudly on AFR Talk.